very much for being
Thank you so much for inviting me today. Before I speak, I'm gonna just give you great news. I'm the co-chair for Vietnam Caucus. So me and Congressman Luke Correa, we are introducing to Congress. Actually, you see this flag as Vietnam flag as an official. So that bill is coming up, and we're
Wow.
working very hard on that. So I just want to give you good news on 4th of July.
Of course, it's a wonderful news. This is a federal bill. Right on. A big fan to Congresswoman Michelle Steele. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Good morning or good afternoon. Don't know exactly what time it is. It is truly an honor to be here with you, all to honor the late Captain Paul Jacobs. As one of 435 United States Congress, I have the distinct privilege of representing Orange County's Little Saigon in Congress. Our Little Saigon has the largest population of Vietnamese anywhere outside of Vietnam. Many of my constituents are first-generation Americans, many of whom fled from communism during the fall of Saigon. I am a first generation, and my both parents fled from North Korea from communism. So I know what Vietnamese community is going through, and they're enjoying their freedom in the United States. The story of Captain Jacobs and his crew of USS Kirk is a remarkable one, demonstrating the courage, selfless service, and compassion of our servicemen. This is part of the story of Orange County that I am so proud to tell that story in Washington, D.C., and to support our Vietnamese community and our distinguished veterans. This is fitting that this memorial to Captain Jacobs is here in Westminster. This place is a community that thrives here and are living testament to their heroism. They will always have our thanks, and now they will always have a physical place of honor in our community. May we never forget Captain Jacobs, the crew of USS Kirk, on their incredible and heroic service. Just want to say thank you for what you did for Vietnamese. And I got actually a few congressional certs here, but before that, I'm gonna just bring everyone together because this program is getting really longer. So I got the congressional letter to Jacob's family, so family member can come up here. And I have Captain Richard McKenna, and I have Daniel Lucero, and I have Kalyan Nyo, and I have Jay Herman. I'm actually reading upside down, so if I mispronounce, I'm sorry. And then I have Captain Retired Paul Jacobs. And one more. Okay, David, his son. So let's from.
Caitlin Moore. Is she here today? Caitlin Moore. I can't remember. And David?
My son-in-law is in Navy right now. That he's a commander, a lieutenant commander, and he's serving in Pendleton. So I really respect not just all these servicemen and women, but you know what? I really respect their families and their sacrifice. And thank you for your service, and thank you for what all you do. So thank you very much, and thank you for the family.
Thank you so very much, Congresswoman, and thank you all, gentlemen.
Wow, that was great news for July, 4th of July, right? And I'm like, all right. And then next, I would like to introduce the singer. Her name is Mai Vi. She will sing for us the song called Sao Rơi Trên Biển. This is a song is about the girl who was in love with the guy from the Navy. Whenever she looked up at the sky, she would think about her boyfriend. Now is on the Navy ship on the mission to protect the country's interests. We would like to devote this song to all Navy military veterans present here. Ladies and gentlemen, a big applause for singer Mai Vi Angelic Jen. đi. Vâng, kính thưa quý vị, và kế tiếp chúng tôi muốn nói tới cuốn sách The Lucky Few. Ai là tác giả và ai là dịch giả? Thưa quý vị, The Lucky Few, chánh phòng lịch sử của Navy Medical Department và đồng thời là quản lý Old Naval Observatory, chủ biên tập của Navy Medicine, tạp chí của Navy Medical Department trong vòng 30 năm qua. That is Mr. Chan K. Herman, was the chief medical historian of the Navy since 1979 to 2012. He also the curator of the Old Naval Observatory located in Washington's volume. He was the editor-in-chief for Navy Medicine, the chair of the Navy Medical Department for 30 years. The Lucky Few is a documentary about the closing days of the Vietnam, provided by the Civics to create a companion of the same name of the first, published in 2013 by the Naval Institute Press. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chan K. Herman. A big applause.
Xin chào.
Yeah.
It is a privilege to be standing among all of you this morning, or I should say this afternoon. We are here to dedicate a plaque honoring Captain Paul Jacobs, whose brilliant and decisive leadership 48 years ago brought many Vietnamese to freedom and to a new life in America. Perhaps some of you are here today because of Captain Jacobs and his heroic efforts. This memorial is very appropriate. I don't know how many of you have seen pictures of it. You'll see it in a short time when it's unveiled, but when you look at the monument, you look at the memorial, the plaque, you'll see Captain Jacobs in action. He's pitching in to help get those now empty and unwanted helicopters off USS Kirk's tiny flight deck to make room for more helicopters that are filled to overflowing with desperate refugees. The image on the plaque captures the essence of this man. Captain Jacobs never considered himself more important than his officers, and certainly no more important than the enlisted men of Kirk's crew. He was the perfect example for those men. He never asked his crew to do anything he wasn't willing to do himself. And Paul Jacobs was the ideal model of a Navy captain, a physically imposing man, a skilled handler of ships, a born leader, and much beloved by his crew. And that love between captain and crew was reciprocated, and no more so than during Operation Frequent Wind, when USS Kirk and her crew saved an estimated 30,000 Vietnamese refugees who were fleeing their war-torn country. Trained as warriors specifically to detect and destroy hostile Soviet submarines, for this was indeed the Cold War, Jacobs and his men instantly transformed themselves into humanitarians by feeding infants, tending to expectant mothers, caring for the sick and injured, and giving hope to a dispirited people who had just lost the only homeland they had ever known. And how did this dangerous situation at sea come about? The orders Captain Jacobs received from his superiors were simple and straightforward. Protect U.S. Navy ships from North Vietnamese attack. His orders did not include anything about the South Vietnamese Army and Air Force helicopters landing on his small ship. Yet the sight of hundreds of helicopters coming out to sea, packed with refugees and with nowhere to land, that propelled him into action. Captain Jacobs invited those aircraft to land on his ship without regard to how risky these touchdowns would be on Kirk's tiny flight deck. Imagine if just one of those helicopters, just one, had crashed on his deck, the captain would be subjected to a court-martial. And that would be the end of his naval career. Paul Jacobs' new and only objective was to save lives, and no one, not even his naval superiors, would deter him from that task. Hugh Doyle, Kirk's chief engineer, remembered the captain's dilemma. I don't know what went through his mind, but I can imagine his concern looking up there and knowing that there were a dozen or more people on each of these helicopters. And he's looking at the lives of 50 people stacked up waiting for our single flight deck. And he said, "Over the side." And a second helicopter went over the side. And in short order, bang, 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 they started to land. And before the day was over, 13 helicopters had landed on Kirk's flight deck. But this drama off the Vietnam coast was just one part of a much bigger story. The following night, the admiral in charge of Operation Frequent Wind ordered Captain Jacobs to take aboard a civilian, Richard Armitage, who presented the captain new orders. Jacobs was to steam his ship back to Vietnam, rendezvous with what was left of the South Vietnamese Navy, and escort those ships across the South China Sea to the Philippines in safety. When Kirk arrived at Con Son Island the following morning, the captain and crew found the 32 ships awaiting them. Kirk's crew had expected that, but what they hadn't expected were the many thousands of men, women, and children packed aboard those ships. Captain Jacobs was now faced with his second challenging dilemma, and these are his own words. Some of them were anchored, some were not. You could look over there and see the ships just loaded with people all the way up to the bridge. I would estimate 2,000 to 3,000 people on one of those ships. They'd been out there for a week, no water, no food, and this is going to be an insurmountable problem, I said. Oh my God, how are we going to pull this off? But the captain pulled it off. After leading a multi-ship convoy across the South China Sea, USS Kirk and those 32 ships with their human cargo reached the Philippines. And that course of action is another totally different and powerful story. Paul Jacobs would never have considered himself a hero, although to many of you, that is what he is. He's an example of compassion and selfless dedication to humanity. He was a superb U.S. naval officer, and he has become an honored American. Even though he is no longer with us, his spirit still binds the men of USS Kirk together today as it did during those tumultuous days of early May 1975, when he and his crew saved an estimated 30,000 Vietnamese refugees fleeing their homeland. I hope this plaque we are dedicating today will preserve his memory. What he and the crew of USS Kirk accomplished shall never be forgotten. Amen.
Thank you, the speaker, Jean Kermit. And from your book, The Lucky Few, we have the Vietnamese who can translate your book, and her name is Caitlin Ngô. Chúng tôi xin được mời cô Caitlin Ngô là người dịch ra cuốn sách The Lucky Few qua tiếng Việt. Chúng tôi xin tạm dịch là những người may mắn. Một tràng pháo tay thật lớn cho cô Caitlin Ngô. Xin được mời lên sân khấu.
Xin kính chào quý vị có mặt ở ngày hôm nay. Xin chào hàm trưởng Jacob. Và thưa quý vị, thật ra thì we are all here grateful for Captain Jacob today. But I believe no one more than us here can be grateful or proud or miss Captain Paul Jacob than one person, that is his son, Tyler Jacob. I'm not sure he's still here or he left already, but Nói về cuộc dịch cuốn sách này thì thật ra không có gì nhiều để nói, bởi vì chuyển ngữ một cuốn sách lịch sử gần như là một nhân chứng của lịch sử tị nạn người Việt hải ngoại, thì nó cũng giống như là một thế hệ trẻ mà được ghi nhận, tìm hiểu những gì mà tiền nhân của mình để lại. Cho nên đây là một vinh dự để đọc, hiểu và có cơ hội chuyển sang tiếng Việt cuốn sách của ông Jen Herman. Thank you so much for Jen. Thank you, Sharon, for giving me an opportunity to do this. And this was my honor. I don't know what else to say, but just want to thank you. Thank you so much.